You have 47 books. These are manuals for every question under the sun.
What I'm about to tell you actually won the Nobel Prize. What do you think is the top food, the number one food on the planet you can start giving babies to shape their taste for?
Tell us about how kids are faring today, health-wise, versus, say, a decade or two ago.
We're seeing cardiovascular disease in 10-year-olds. We're seeing high blood pressure in 10-year-olds. Type 2 diabetes is now epidemic in children. But the good news, Lila.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lila Rose Show. I am thrilled that I get to sit down today with Dr. Bill Sears, the esteemed Dr. Bill Sears, the author of 47 books, father of 8, grandfather to many more, husband to his beautiful wife for almost 60 years, and someone who was on the cover of Time magazine because of his incredible parenting advice, as well as his incredible offering of how to best keep your child healthy. And so in today's episode, we're going to be exploring all things health for our children with Dr. Bill Sears. Many of you have not yet hit that subscribe button. We've noticed that there's over 80% sometimes of listeners who check out this channel, listen to episodes, but aren't yet subscribed. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Dr. Bill, thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you, Lila. I'm honored to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I've been a fan of yours for years now.
Thank you.
And I was so delighted when I found out that you are practicing in Southern California.
Yes.
So you're a local.
That's my 50th year in practice.
Amazing. We had your son on the show recently.
Yeah.
Dr. Bob Sears.
Oh, right.
And you've got all these doctor sons. But for those who are meeting you for the first time, give us a little background on Dr. Bill Sears.
I'll give you a little bit of my own background. I grew up as sort of what would be now called an underprivileged child. Mm. Single mom. My dad took off when I was a month of age. Mm. And but my mother surrounded me with quality mentors. Mm. She made me go to the best Christian schools. Mm. I had to work and pay the tuition myself. And then at high school, when I came to high school, I said, Mom, I want to go to the fun school. You know, no rules, no God. Mm. No, Billy, you will go to Marquette High and you'll earn the tuition.
Wow.
Thank you, Mom. And then after high school, I was going to be a priest. So I went in a seminary for 3 years and discerned out from priesthood to doctorhood. But Lila, what I learned during those years in the seminary made me a better father and a better doctor. And now I'm in my 50th year as a pediatrician. I'm loving it because I call it the helper's high. That say you come in with your baby, first-time parents, and I look at that precious little baby. I mean, babies are blessings from God. And I give you tools to start out. If I give that patient a toolbox to take home from my office for their children, I've influenced that tiny, precious little baby for another 80 years. Wow. And so I go to bed every night with what I call the helper's high. I go, wow, that some parent, child may be a little bit healthier and happier because of what I did. So that's sort of a summary of why I still love practicing.
That's beautiful. Very beautiful. And how many children at this point? Any estimation of how many children you have served as pediatrician for after 50 years of work?
Many, 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 many. I've been at about 500 births because I used to be what's called a perinatologist. I would go to birth situations. So and that's but that's when I realized that. What do you think is the greatest degree a person can have in their whole life? It starts with an M, and it's not MD.
Mom.
Mom. Right. M-O-M.
So true.
I think it's the greatest degree in the world.
Gonna make me cry already.
Yeah.
I'm
right. Just a simple male.
Well, and what I love about your body of work, you have 47 books, and I've seen, I'll admit, I've definitely read some, but 47, these are manuals for every question under the sun. Breastfeeding, discipline, diet, the early years, attachment. You do all of, you've really provided really accessible information on all of these aspects of parenting for moms, for dads. And I'm just grateful for that body of work and the common sense approach that you take. It's also available, a lot of your body of work at AskDrSears.com, where if you have a question, I mean, I've Googled, whether it's a sickness my child has, it's a parenting issue, it's toilet training, whatever. You Google on your Google, you look on your website.
It comes up.
You're my chat GPT, Dr. Sears.
Thank you. You mentioned a magic word, grateful. And I'm grateful to the parents in my practice because a little thing, our books were written on the job. When I would teach a parent, or I'd see a parent who was fantastic, and their kid was turning out so well, a well-disciplined child, a sensitive child, an eye contact child, I would write down what the mom does. So at the end of the day, I would have a whole volume of notes, and that's what was the material for our book. And then my wife, Martha, God bless her. She's a model mom. And we were on Good Morning America one time, and Joan London says, where'd you get the material for, how's your marriage survive writing all these books together? And she says, Bill writes it, I fix it.
Wow, that's amazing. So there are a lot of places we could start. One of the most urgent questions that we were discussing even before we started this interview is the health epidemic in America with kids.
It is.
Tell us about how kids are faring today, health-wise, versus, say, a decade or two ago.
Yes. Well, first of all, there used to be a word in the doctor's dictionary called adult onset diseases. That word doesn't exist anymore because children are getting them. We're seeing cardiovascular disease in 10-year-olds. We're seeing high blood pressure in 10-year-olds. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes is now epidemic in children. And the prediction, which I hope is wrong, is that 50% of today's children will eventually have diabetes.
50%?
50%
of kids will have diabetes.
Alzheimer's. I was having lunch yesterday with Dr. Vince Hartness. Vince is an Alzheimer's specialist. He wrote anti-Alzheimer's prescription book. I said, Vince, when does Alzheimer's begin? He said, in adolescence.
How is that even possible?
That's when the brain starts changing a bit. See? So if you have Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancer. Cancer is now at all-time high in children. See, but the good news, Lila, is all that's prevented. I'm not a statistic person, but everything we talked about there is preventable, reversible, correctable tools. And that's what when patients in my office, for example, patients reading our books, I want them to leave with a toolbox to give to their children so they don't get all that stuff, we call it, later on.
Well, let's get into the toolbox because I am all ears. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Oh, bless your heart.
So we're on the front end of it. And I know a lot of our listeners are either parents or aspiring parents or very loving aunts, uncles, care about kids, of course. Before we get into the toolbox, so I got to ask. So you were saying cancer's at an all-time high. You were saying kids are even getting Alzheimer's now. They're getting diabetes at a rate they've never gotten before.
Sure.
Autism is another thing.
Autism's a biggie. Yeah, and ADHD, all that, just so many
7 Weeks Coffee is America's pro-life coffee company on a mission to fund the pro-life movement, one delicious cup of coffee at a time. And they check every box. This is pesticide-free, mold-free, organically farmed, low-acid coffee that is absolutely delicious. 7 Weeks Coffee donates 10% of every single sale, including the sale you can make today, to pro-life pregnancy centers. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe, plus get a free gift. And exclusively for my listeners, use code Lila for an extra 10% off your order. That's a 25% total savings on your first order, plus your free gift at 7weekscoffee.com.
The ADHD, for example, we have a book called the ADD book, and we were on it was a Today Show, and Katie asked Martha, where did you get the information for the ADHD book, the ADD book? And my wife says on national television, it's my husband's autobiography. See? Because there's an example of we're taking children who are different. The ADHD is a disorder. It's called, things that are called disorders are only called disorders because you can't bill for something if it doesn't have a disorder on it.
Oh, man.
But it's a difference. Some children are wired differently. So our purpose is to channel that difference, not to change them. See, that's a point I always make with when you mention ADHD, that it's a difference. Yeah.
Do you think that the higher diagnoses in autism, ADHD today, it's not so much that more kids are autistic or have, and I know they're different things, but, or have ADHD or ADD, it's that we are just diagnosing higher. Because some people say the 1 in 30 stat about autism, well, it probably did exist maybe 30, 40 years ago. It's just we diagnose more. When, like you say, doctors may be incentivized to do that. I think it's a bit of both.
I think we're diagnosing it better. Our treatment tools are better. Our medical care is better. But also, what isn't better is our children's brains. I always come back to the brain because that's the greatest organ. The brain. Children's brains are growing up in a polluted world. Until we change some of that, we're not going to stop the epidemic of autism. Okay, so that's what.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that a lot of these issues, including autism, you would argue it's a polluted world, not so much genetic issues per se, passed on through generations. Although I guess you could, have over time have environmental issues, maybe adjust genetics and what's passed on. But largely speaking, it sounds like you're saying it is the toxicity in the world today. Is that plastic?
Yes,
what is it that's the
You mentioned the magic word toxicity. Yeah. In fact, I dream a lot. I had a dream one day. See, mothers have a way of changing things. Now, look what moms did for the whole birthing atmosphere. 30 years ago, say, moms would say, it's my baby, my body, my birth. And I'm not going to give birth in these little sterile rooms, look like an operating room. And now the hospitals, if they're going to stay in baby business, birthing suites, labor tubs, all those, because mothers demanded it. So I had a dream that millions of mothers marched on Washington and said, stop polluting our children.
When did you have that dream?
About a year ago. Yeah, and I dream that sometimes. Stop polluting our children. Stop putting these weed killers that our children are eating. Stop all the artificial stuff. And so that's my dream, that eventually mothers will prevail, that I'm not buying that for my precious child to put in their brain. So mothers.
I'm a mom. A lot of moms, I'm sure, listening, and dads. What would you say? I know we're going to get to the toolbox. What would you say are the top, let's say 5, you pick the number, the top basically in your view, pollutants, things that are toxic. You mentioned weed killers, I think, and I presume that's on the vegetables or the fruit that our kids are going to be eating. So non-organic vegetable produce, perhaps you're speaking to that. I don't know. So I'd love to hear your take on that. What are the kind of culprits?
Yeah, well, I think the weed killers tops.
Tops,
okay? That's
wow.
the top one. They spray so that the plants, the weeds are killed, but the grass and the plants go better. So they make money on it. So others would be artificial sweeteners, aspartame. You've got to get rid of that.
What about stevia?
Stevia's okay.
Okay.
Stevia, good stevia.
Okay.
Yeah, stevia's okay. But now that you're on that subject, though, one of the things we teach parents, we call shaping young tastes. Shaping young tastes. Today's kids are being shaped to have a sugar taste. That's why they add all this stuff. They're not eating real foods. So we start our patients off with what we call, I give my little shaping young taste lecture. Shape young taste at 6 months when they start solid foods after as breastfeeding. And I say, now you want your child to develop a natural taste for real foods, not artificial foods. So we start with avocados.
Love them.
First food. Mama's, the tongue. Mm-hmm. The best food is mama's finger because it's soft and babies are used to it. Avocados, sweet potatoes. And 7 months, what do you think is the top food, the number one food on the planet? The most nutritious food you can start giving babies to shape their taste for. What would be your guess?
Besides the avocados and the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, besides avocados and...
Ooh, I want to get this right. And is it a fruit or a vegetable?
Not yet. I'll give you a clue. It swims in the sea.
Salmon?
Salmon! You got it. Yeah, it's biblical. Salmon. Salmon, Lila, if you were to Google the nutrient content of salmon, wow, 10 nutrients in a measly 250 calories of a handful of salmon. And all those nutrients are for a baby's brain and immune system. Mother's milk, baby's brain growth and immune system growth. Baby's microbiome or gut bugs growth. Salmon. So that's why we start salmon. We have a little saying in our office, salmon at 7 months. Wild salmon from Alaska. See, so this is just shaping young tastes. Make your own baby food. Don't buy it. Make your own baby food so that babies grow up with the taste of real food. And I have a little confession. I use my office as sort of a laboratory to study it. And I would find that mothers would come in and say, we have 4 children, and this is the first child I've stuck with real foods. And now he's 5 years of age. He'll eat salmon. He'll eat vegetables. He'll eat all the things my other kids wouldn't because I started early with real foods. So they have a taste for real foods. So then, kids who have a taste for real food, if they go to a party or something, they get artificial sweeteners or something like that. Let's say they'll come home yucky. They use the term yucky, because their mouthfeel and their gut, they say yucky tummy sometimes. They're so used to real foods that when they put an unreal food in it, it's like, nope, don't belong here. So that's shaping young taste is a big parenting tool.
I have to ask, since we're on this topic, would you recommend, let's say we're using organic flour, we're using organic sugar, but we're baking cookies, we're, making coffee cake, I'm just talking about myself here. Guys, I do these things, right? Yeah. And you give a little piece to the 1-year-old. Would you not introduce processed, I guess it's I'm processing the food, but would you not introduce, actual cane sugar to a child 1 or under? Or at what age would you say they can have the donut?
You don't ever need it. They'll get it. They'll get it at school, they'll get it at parties. You don't have to have it. No, put honey in it. You want some sweetener? Put honey in it. I drink honey water sometimes, like when I'm going for an interview because I need the nutrition. But but real taste. Now, an example of that, you mentioned genetics.
Bed sheets matter. You want bed sheets that are silky, smooth, breathable, made from good materials that are healthy for your skin. I've been so thrilled to sleep on sheets made by CozyEarth.com. Cozy Earth sheets are made from viscose from bamboo, and they are the silkiest, softest sheets that you will ever sleep on. They also wash really well. We've washed ours now many, many times, and they're still as silky as they were on day one. Cozy Earth also has the most premium and comfy cozy robes. They have these wonderful viscose from bamboo pajamas. I also wear those. If you want to buy a gift for a loved one, a gift for your spouse, a gift for your parents, if you want to buy a gift for yourself, go to CozyEarth.com today. Use the code Lila at checkout for a full 40% off your order. Get your sheets, get your robes, get your joggers, get whatever product you think you most want to treat yourself or your loved one with, and go to CozyEarth.com using the code Lila for a full 40% off your order.
Our child number 7, we number our children. We kid each other, Dad, you forgot our name, but we're number 7. Anyway, child number 7, Stephen. Stephen came to our family differently abled, Down syndrome, genetic quirk. And I remember Martha and I, the day he was born, and we said, he has a genetic quirk. And I started studying it, and the term is epigenetics. We can't change his genes. He will always have that extra chromosome. Can't change that. But epigenetics means that you can change how the genes behave. So we started him on all healthy, real food. Martha breastfed him for 3 years. It's very hard to breastfeed kids who can't suck very well. He had real food. He had salmon at 7 months. I had lunch with him 2 days ago, and he said, Dad, order some salmon for me. Okay? And he's 35 now. And so he's been our healthiest child. Sports, he's been in every sport because movement. Today's children suffer from what I call the sitting disease. And we'll talk about that later, maybe, how movement is one of the best medicines for growing children. So he was out there at age 3 and 4 hitting baseballs and hitting golf. He plays golf now. They call him Harry Potter on the golf course. And so that's just an example. I say that if parents have a child with any type of genetic quirks, epigenetics, you can change and influence how those genes behave by how you parent and how you feed the child.
The question of nutrition, I'm going to guess, is going to continue to come back into this because that's one key way to protect the child. You're talking about when to introduce certain foods, which I already learned something. So thank you. Our 1-year-old is already past those foods, but for the next baby, Lord, when we've got another one, I like your framing there. What are some of the tools in the toolbox to protect our children? You said it is possible to prevent some of these horrible illnesses that are plaguing our kids, or if they're experiencing an illness, we can reverse it, or sure. work towards reversal. Talking about nutrition, weed killers. We talked about the weed killers and how damaging those are. Would you say we should only do organic food? What's your take on the food profile?
I would say a garden, grow your own. Kids will eat what they grow. We learned that because we always had a little backyard garden. And they say, go out and pick some tomatoes, go out and pick some lettuce. Children will eat what they grow. And you can get little gardens called tower gardens that you have in your house even. So grow a garden. But the big one, Lila, is get them off the couch and moving. Imagine for a minute that the creator of the greatest creation ever made, the human body, the female body is the best still, and the babies, babies are beautiful. But the creator knew that we humans are going to mess it up by how we eat, live, and think. So naturally, the creator would put within our bodies our own pharmacy. Our own pharmacy. And when I talk about this to parents, they say, what? We have pharmacies inside our body? I never heard that. Yeah. That makes sense, Dr. Bill. Yeah. So then they say, well, where is that pharmacy? I say, well, you have a lot of them, but with the biggest pharmacy, where do you think the biggest pharmacy is? Where would you put it? If you wanted the medicines to get in the quickest, do their job and get in the bloodstream the quickest, where would you put it? And they're thinking, well, the lining of the blood vessels, the endothelium. Endothelium. This is the biggest word in medicine that many people have never heard of. The endothelium is the lining of your blood vessels. So picture the lining of your blood vessels have trillions of little microscopic medicine bottles. And those medicine bottles dispense around 25 different medicines into your body. Medicines that lower the highs, like high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, high blood sugars. Medicines that raise the lows, antidepressants, anti-anxieties, medicines that heal your hurts, anti-inflammatories, medicines that keep blood from clotting too fast, anticoagulant. See? The medicines you make are inside your body. But because of one thing, the pharmacy is partially closed in most children and most adults. So the big thing is, how do we keep our pharmacy open? And it's one simple word: move. We are made to move, not to sit. We're made to move. We're made that way. And what I'm about to tell you actually won the Nobel Prize.
WeHeartNutrition.com is a vitamin and supplement company that provides the highest quality, research-backed ingredients, customized and optimized to help you be healthy. What I also love about We Heart Nutrition is that this is a family-owned company, and they donate a full 10% back of all of their revenue to pregnancy resource centers to help moms and babies in need. So whether you are premenopausal or postmenopausal, whether you're looking to conceive, help improve your fertility, whether you're pregnant, and this is a great prenatal vitamin, or you're postnatal. Plus, I'm very excited to share this with my husband. Now We Heart Nutrition has come out with their first line of men's vitamins. And if you order today at WeHeartNutrition.com, get your vitamins, you can get 20% off using the code Lila. And if you spend at least $50, you will get a free signature bamboo capsule vitamin box. So go to WeHeartNutrition.com today. Use the code Lila at checkout to get 20% off your purchase. That's WeHeartNutrition.com.
What I'm about to tell you actually won the Nobel Prize. And I was taught this by Dr. Ignaro, who I knew I was studying the body. I knew somewhere in the body there's got to be a pharmacy. God would not put us here without a pharmacy. And so a friend of us said, you need to talk to Dr. Lou Ignaro, who won the Nobel Prize. So I called Lou, and he and his wife came down to spend the day with me. In the long shot, when you move, the blood flows faster over the tops of the medicine bottles on the lining of your blood vessels. So for our listeners, picture for a minute your blood vessels. And the blood is flowing faster. And it creates an energy field called a shear force and opens the pharmacy. So tomorrow, if you're walking with friends, say, I'm making my own medicines. I'm opening my pharmacy. And you do that by movement. See, so this is one of the first ways to start preventing a lot of those things is by the more you move, the healthier you are at all ages, at all ages.
Do you think that's one of the reasons there's so many health issues plaguing our kids more than ever before is because kids are sedentary?
Yeah, because we're not moving enough. Now, back to Dr. Mom. One of Dr. Mom's greatest wisdoms is go outside and play. Go outside and play. Wow, I remember my mom and Martha saying that all the time when I was, misbehaving. Go outside and play, Billy. Go outside and play. So I studied that. I said, what is it about movement outdoors? And so I'm going to take you into how this was all discovered a minute. Because I like to learn the why behind the what. Why is movement outdoors so healthy? Why do we feel so much better when we just go outdoors? Well, here's why. Martha and I were over in Japan and giving lectures, and Asian lectures are very long. So my brain was just, at the end of the day. And so our host, Mr. Saganishi, said, we're going to take you and Martha out for some Shinrin Yoku. Shinrin Yoku, which I thought was a Japanese drink. So we get in this car and we drive up a mountain into a woods, into a tree tunnel. And he says, now we're going to have some Shinrin Yoku, which is Japanese for forest bathing. What we would call just go outside, play. And after a half-hour walk in the woods, I thought, wow, I feel so much better. And he said, would you like to learn more? Next stop, Tokyo University, where they have a whole department of Shinrin Yoku, where they take people of all ages who are anxious, depressed, downers, they have immune problems, all this stuff, and they take them out to in the woods, and they wire them up with what we call windows to the brain. Today's technology is amazing. Windows to tell it what's going on inside there. And they draw fluid from every orifice in the body to measure before and after the walk. And here's what they found after a 20 to 30-minute walk. Stress hormones went down. Happy hormones went up. But the magnificent thing they found was that their immune system, there's God put within us an immune system army. And the greatest fighters are called natural killer cells. We have trillions of them all over their body. And what they found after a walk in the woods, the number and fighting ability of the natural killer cells went up. Just from a 20, 30-minute walk in the woods. So Dr. Mom was right. Go outside and play.
What if you don't have woods? What if you're in a suburban neighborhood? Is that good enough?
Well, you can find it. You can go outside anywhere. You can find woods anywhere.
Okay.
Parks.
Look for the woods. That's important.
Parks. Even like New Yorkers. Central Park. So most cities have a wood somewhere that you can find. And you mentioned ADHD. I have some patients with this. And there's things called forest schools that are in next to a woods. So the kids are outdoors most of the day. And their ADHD, whatever it is, went down. See? So again, we are made to let the sunshine in. We are made to be outdoors a lot.
Do you think that's part of the problem, Dr. Sears, that a lot of our schools today, they are these sort of industrial, dark, not a lot of natural light buildings, and then the playground is like a bunch of plastic on a tarmac?
You nailed it, Lila. You nailed it. The schools don't get it. First of all, many are built near freeways. Not good. They don't have that when they took recess out of schools, the Ritalin dosage went up. What do you think? So a few years ago, I was giving a talk in a city called Naperville, Illinois, near Chicago. That's where I learned this. It's called the Naperville Study, where schools in Naperville, they had a high percentage of kids with the Ds, ADD, ADHD, depression, all the Ds, highly medicated, school absences. The kids were not healthy. So what they did is they did an experiment. They had children come, the kids who were disturbed the most, they had them come to school a half hour early and run around the schoolyard for a half hour. Grades went up, medicines went down, school absences went down. It's called the Naperville Study. And that opened the eyes to so many schools that let's get our kids moving again. Let's have windows, big windows in the classrooms. Not artificial light, not fluorescent, but the children learn. That's like one of the characteristics of ADD, ADHD children. They're staring out the window all the time because they want to be out the window. That's it.
So sad to think about. I mean, there's a whole generation of kids that we are stuffing inside fluorescent lit concrete buildings. Yeah.
So we have our work cut out for us. And that's why I'm so glad your program's like this, because mothers are the movers and the shakers. Fathers, too. Get all these politicians. Get those schools the way they should be. Get them. And so mothers will win. Just takes a while.
What are some other things that would be in your toolbox to help your kids be as healthy as possible in this world of toxicity that we're in?
Well, so we have Move Smart is number one. I call it my 5. Yes. Move smart, eat smart,
eat smart,
think smart, sleep smart, and share smart. But eat smart. Real foods. Real foods. Yeah, only serve real foods in schools. Salmon at 7 months. You can't get a better school food for all ages than a good old fillet of salmon. Wow. Sleep is another big one. Children don't sleep as well nowadays. So I'll spend a minute or so on sleep. What people don't understand is during sleep is when you make a lot of medicines. See, your body sleeps, but your brain doesn't. So picture when you fall off to sleep, army inside your brain is called the glymphatic system. Glia cells are like trillions of little microscopic cells, and they're what we call the house cleaners. And their job is brainwashing. So sleep is brainwashing. So during quality sleep is when the glia cells come around and detox the brain, filing what you want to remember, and then dumping all the junk in the lymphatic system, the rivers of the brain, and you get rid of it. See, so you wake up called refreshed. Refreshed is a wonderful word. And then you start the day refreshed at work or school. But if you don't sleep well, you don't have that brainwashing at night. And so you don't learn as well during the day. So sleeping, our sleep thing, first of all, the more you move during the day, the better you sleep at night. It makes sense as the body says, oh, you wore me out during the day, I'm going to rest at night. So move more during the day, start dimming the lights earlier in the evening. No cell phones in the bedroom for children and teens. Before you go to bed, we had a routine in our house of lying down with the kids and saying a prayer.
Snuggling.
Before you go to bed.
So you'd snuggle up on the bed and say prayers. How sweet.
And praying off to sleep. And I still remember our son, you remember Dr. Jim, you mentioned him. And also parenting's modeling with big families, especially like you're having. The older kids are learning how to take care of the younger kids. And I remember one time, Martha and I were in the living room and we heard our baby Aaron crying from our bedroom. And so we get up and we walk to the bedroom, and as we're almost in the bedroom, her crying stopped, and we look in the bedroom, and there's Jim. I think he was like 10, 12 years old. There's Jim being a father. He's
Sweet.
Nurturing Aaron, and he's rubbing her. He's telling her off to sleep. And we're standing there saying, oh, wow, thank you, God. And so that's another thing why I celebrate your big family, that the older you're modeling parenting for the older children, and they pick it up. Children, you'd be surprised what they learn. Their little eyes and brain are always on their parents, learning for things.
It's such a good point. I mean, we've got, the oldest is 5.
Yeah.
But already, Gigi's crying. Oh, come here, girly. Like, he's already trying to nurture our littlest one.
That's
and
right.
He's just 5.
Yeah, you're right on that. And that's how we learned about attachment parenting a bit. We would go to playgrounds and watch how things happen. Say a little 3-year-old falls and scrapes his knee and starts crying. The attachment parented kids are the first ones over to console that child because they learn sensitivity. When children cry, adults listen. And so we notice that in our family too, and what you just mentioned, that the older ones are more sensitive to the needs of the younger ones.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose some of your acronym, or I don't know if it's an acronym, but the 5 points of the toolbox. I love the framing that you would use. So eat well, I think, let's see if I can remember. Let's see if I'm retaining what you're laying down here. So you talked about eating well. We talked about sleeping well. We already did that. We talked about moving well. You had share well was one of them, which we haven't
that was the end.
Done.
Sleep well and think well.
Think well. Tell me more about share and think.
Okay. Sharing, we'll get into the thinking goes into sharing. See, today's top epidemic of all ages, brain problems at all ages. And it's interesting. If you go to one of the things doctors talk about at meeting, for the first time in history, cerebral vascular problems are more serious than cardiovascular problems. In other words, the brain is now sicker than the heart. Now, but the good news is the brain is the one that's easiest to repair and prevent. And so, what I do in my office too is I have, on our website, we have what we call healthy reminders. These are cute little things that I give my patients. You can go to our website. We have about 50 of them. They're little things to post all over your house, like feel God, feel good. Go outside and play. Have you made your medicines today? But one of those is where attention flows, brain tissue grows. Where attention flows, brain tissue grows. In fact, it's funny. Sometimes my patients will bring their mom and dad in. So the older side. They're just big kids anyway. So I say, welcome to the pediatric office. They're just big kids, but they bring them in for brain stuff usually. And I'll say, well, okay, this is the key, the simplest key to brain health, where attention flows, brain tissue grows. So I want you to picture that you have in your brain a happy center and a sad center. We want to grow your happy center and shrink your sad center. And so I want you to practice for the next week only happy thoughts. Only as soon as, oh my gosh.
This is good advice,
my
Dr.
bank
Sears.
account's low. Oh my gosh. Oh, this bill. Oh my gosh, I'm late for work. Oh my God. No, try spin. Happy thoughts. Try that. Only happy thoughts. Only happy thoughts. And then I give them a little, the teenagers love this one. I give them my playlist. I say, now, do you have a playlist on your cell phone or something? Yeah, my favorite tunes. I say, okay, I want you to develop 5 of your greatest memories in your whole life. Greatest memories. Your senior prom, your first formal, your first date, your score a winning goal or something like that. And put the pictures on your cell phone. And then file them in your mind. Follow those things. And as soon as a toxic thought comes, like dumped by a date or something toxic comes to your mind, playlist. See? So the brain gets used to weeding out toxic thoughts and growing your file cabinet of happy thoughts. And I have my playlist is I have pictures of the day I met Martha. She was a nurse, and I was a doctor, a poor medical student at the time. And we met on the first day she was at. So I have a picture of her as a nurse. I have a picture of us walking down the aisle. I have a picture of our kiss right after we were married in the car there, kiss. And so as soon as a toxic thought comes, I playlist. I picture in my mind meeting Martha, marrying Martha, that type of thing. And that's just a simple exercise. See, and today's kids and parents, they don't have time for 3 to 4 months of cognitive behavioral therapy. It works and it's good, but they just say to me, Dr. Bill, give me a tool. Give me something I can do fast. I want to feel better fast. So that's how I came up with the playlist and to explain the why about the attention flows.
I love that. It sounds so easy to use because you could ask the child, what's your happy, like what made you feel so happy recently? Yeah. Or did you feel happy when, you blew out the candles on your birthday cake or, your cousins came over or whatever the thing is. And then you're helping them identify that as the happy thought. Then they can return to it.
That's right. Yeah.
What a wonderful tool.
Thoughts. And see, this is the toolbox. These are things that parents can teach their children. The toolbox. And then part of the brain, there's a whole science coming out now, Lila, called neurotheology. Neurotheology. And that means the closer you are to God, the happier your brain. And for example, I was having lunch yesterday with the Alzheimer's expert, Vince. And I said, Vince, what do you notice? Do you notice any difference between the patients you see in your office who are spiritual, who are close to God? And all? He said, oh, absolutely. He said, Bill, this is a new science called neurotheology. What we and other neurologists are noticing is the closer a person is to God, the happier and healthier they tend to be. So this is why we teach parents early on build that little God center. Start, babies, talk about God when babies in the womb. Talk about God when babies are 6 months, through 3 months. So maybe their first word, they hear God all the time, God. So they say, Mama, Dada, Gaga, maybe, something like God. They hear God. And I tell moms to sing a lot. Singing is one of the biggest words in the Bible. And I say, let your kids watch you sing. They say, keep your mind on God. Keep your mind on God. A hum. Teach your kids to hum. It's called hum singing. Science made simple. When you hum, you cause vibrations to go up into your brain, and you turn on your feel-good center. See? So the kids say, Mommy, why are you humming all the time? And you explain to them, it feels good. Feels good. Well, teach me, Mommy. I want to feel good. And I keep coming back to that term, feel good. Lila, that's the title of our newest book, because that's what kids tell me when I ask them in the office, like teenagers say, what do you want? They don't say, I want to be healthy. They say, Dr. Bill, I just want to feel good. So that's why I use the term feel good and feel better a lot.
I'm crying. That's so beautifully said. And it's such the wealth of knowledge that you have, Dr. Sears, and it's so practical, but we're so rushed, I guess, today. I don't know what it is, distracted, but taking a moment to just sing with your kids, hum with your kids. God is good. Life is good. You think that can heal people. I mean,
it can heal people. Yeah, wow. Exactly. See, your immune system inside, we are blessed with an army inside. You and I, you have an army, we have an army of trillions of little fighters, NK cells, natural killer cells, and others. But the brain is the CEO of your immune system. And the brain sends text messages all day long, day and night, to the immune system. And the brain says, you go fight those germs. You go fight those toxic thoughts. You go fight all that. And the immune system sends text messages from the gut. The gut is where most of it is, up the biggest nerve in the body called the vagus nerve into the brain. And they're sending text messages, okay, brain, we'll do our job down here, but don't stress us out. Because the immune system doesn't like stress. When you're better up here, we'll fight better for you. So that's why we try to help kids develop a stronger immune system at all ages.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the explanation you're giving is such a beautiful one. It's so simple. I know, I don't know if you were saying this before the interview, before we started filming or after, but you explain things to be remembered. And you're giving us like the cheat code again for how to think about these things. It's wonderful. It's really your work. I can't say how wonderful I think it is. The last one was share well.
Share well. Friendships. Young teenagers, and I love teenagers. But before we get to teenagers, I'll mention there's a kind of a little philosophy trait going around there called free thinkers. Free thinkers. And I had, for example, a patient in my office recently came in and for counseling, a 15-year-old. And the mom I'm counseling, sometimes we'll say, well, tell me, Joe, how's your relationship with God? And then this mom later said to me, well, Dr. Bill, we want him to be a free thinker. We want him to make up his mind about God when he's, 15 or 20. We just want him to be a free thinker right now. And this mom, sometimes you say things you wish maybe you didn't, but I say, well, please don't be offended by what I'm about to say. But what you said about free thinking reminds me of one of my favorite movie titles, Dumb and Dumber. And she like that. And I said, a child's brain grows most in the first 5 years, triples in size, grows 90% the first 5 years, almost fully grown by 15. So you plant the seeds in the brain garden. Your child's the greatest garden ever grown, is your child's brain. You plant seeds when the ground is most fertile. So that's when you teach your child about God, and you teach your child about things you want them to remember, like you mentioned. And then it was sharing, share smart, picking friends wisely, because teenagers are very sensitive. Oh, I didn't get invited to that party. And I'll see kids with counseling, and moms will say, oh, she's so sensitive. Really? And I say, good. Sensitivity is a gift. What we need now is more sensitive people. Sensitivity means that she understands right and wrong, and she feels bad when it's wrong, and she feels good when it's right. Celebrate her sensitivity, but we want to channel a little bit. So I'll teach the children, I'll teach the teenager. Now, you have that gift of sensitivity. You may have fewer friends, but you'll have better friends. See? Because you're sensitive. Don't be bothered if you're not invited by a party. Don't be bothered if you're dumped by a date or so. That's their problem. Okay? But celebrate your sensitivity. That's a gift, especially for mothers. Mothers are beautifully sensitive.
I love that. Thank you, Dr. Sears. Is there any other thoughts you have on this topic of safeguarding kids against the toxicity? I mean, the ones you've shared already are phenomenal. Any other things that you would add to that?
I think since your audience is a lot of moms, is that right?
That's right.
Well,
and aspiring moms.
Yeah, we have moms, and I love moms. And that's why we developed the 7 tools of attachment parenting, which is really the groundwork of discipline and all that. But birth bonding, the 7 B's we call it, birth bonding, breastfeeding, baby wearing, belief in the baby's cries, bedding close to baby, beware of baby trainers, the let them cry out crowd. But the last one is balance. Balance. And here's what I find a lot of moms need the most help with. For example, Martha, my dear wife, the queen of attachment parenting. She, one day she said to me, this was kid number 6, I think. You'd think she'd know better by kid number 6. So she says to me, honey, I don't even have time to take a shower. My baby needs me so much. I don't have time to take a shower. And I see early burnout written on her face. So I've got to be a father and a husband. And so I made this big sign. I put it on the bathroom mirror that she sees. It says, what our baby needs most is a happy, rested mother. What our baby needs most is a happy, rested mother. You rest, you take a shower, you do what you need. I will take care of the baby today. So I'm stuck because men don't have the tools that women have. We don't have the 2 greatest pacifiers in the world. But I thought, wait, I don't think that way. Think right. What do men have? that women don't. We have a hairy chest, and babies like that. They pull hair, and they like to think. We have a deeper voice. And for some babies, the deeper male voice is more calming. It's a little more monotonous and calming. And so I developed what I call the neck nestle. I would put baby Stephen in my neck like this, and I would drape my cheek or my jaw over his skull. And babies hear with the vibration of their skull bones in addition to their ears. So I would sing to him, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my little baby. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my little boy," you know. And I was asleep sometimes, but they would go, to sleep.
I'm going to sleep.
But I realized that, wow, you know, I can father nurse. Nursing means comforting. Fathers can nurse. Caregivers can nurse. So that was balance. Know when, and you know, our kids remember that to this day. They said, you know, Dad, what we remember is that you and Mom always took time for yourselves. Our kids were kind of a handful. Dr. Bob used that term. Our kids were a handful. But we remember that you took one night a week for a dinner for two by the fireplace. And sometimes we would crawl up behind you for that. But kids remember that. And again, that's the toolbox you mentioned. Parenting is giving your children the tools to succeed in life. And so I hope your listeners, I hope we've given them tools, take-home tools today.
Absolutely. You've already helped me just listening here. I love doing these podcasts because I get to talk to people that I learn from personally and then share it with everybody listening. I know in your body of work, we've only scratched the surface. I know there's other topics like attachment parenting, discipline that I hope we can get into. So if you're willing to come back, yes, we'd love to have you back. But thank you for speaking to the health crisis. Yes. Because that's, I think, top of mind for most moms right now. Yes. And just the practical things that mothers can do and dads can do. And, you know, aunts and uncles can help, you know, their loved ones do to get our kids as healthy as possible.
Thank you, Lila. I'd be honored to come back. And parents are the answer to the health crisis. They really are. Parenting is the answer to the health crisis.
What are some, I know there's AskDrSears.com. Are there any other resources you recommend, any specific books or anything on this topic of health in particular that you would say folks should get?
Let's see, our latest book is called Feel Good, 5 Tools for Lasting Health and Happiness at All Ages. And it's an ebook. So you can go to our website, AskDrSears.com, and on the front page is a funny picture of a big heart, and with the title that says "Move Smart, Eat Smart, Sleep Smart, Think Smart, Share Smart." It's a 220-page book, so you can download that. And any book I mention here or on the site, we donate all of our book proceeds, Lila, to children's charities. So, a feel-good book, the Healthy Brain book. The Healthy Brain book is really a good book for the brain, how the brain develops. We take parents into how you grow a garden and why the brain is a garden, and how the brain of a child grows. You're growing a garden. And what you need to grow a garden, you need to feed it, water it, fertilize it, keep the weeds out, all that, see? So, and they're feel-good books. Every page has a funny picture. Because as you said, it's not like our podcast today. It's not what you and I say, it's how much your guests remember and are motivated to change. So the feel-good book, the Healthy Brain book, we have our weight control book. We call it Waste Management, called Dr. Sears T5, 5 changes in 5 weeks to help you get lean. Lean's our big word. Lean does not mean skinny. Lean just means having the right amount of muscle, bone, and body fat for your individual body type. And we go into loving your body. Love your body, because body image is another problem we're seeing in children right now. Love your body. Love your body, whatever your body type. Then we have the baby book, a nice gift for parents to be, and then the healthy pregnancy book for expectant parents. So those are probably our top books.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Sears. You're amazing. And I'm so grateful for your life's work. It's such a blessing. And I'm so excited that we got to get you in studio today to share it with our podcast family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lila.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Lila Rose Show. The mission of The Lila Rose Show is to bring the good, the true, and the beautiful into the media marketplace with love and courage. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your shows, and make sure to leave us a like or a 5-star review if you're listening on podcast app in order to help the show reach more people. And a huge thank you to EWTN, Eternal Word Television Network, which is the largest religious broadcaster in the world. You can get access to Lila Rose Show episodes 24 hours in advance at EWTN.com/on-demand. And a big thank you to EWTN and their incredible mission to bring souls to Jesus.